So it's just again the systematic lying of this administration that we see is so common. And of course they're lying about this, they're lying about everything else, and it's just like how do we get this to stop? And the sad thing is you cannot get this to stop. The only thing you got to do is you just got to cut through the noise, cut through the BS with people who know how to find the truth. And luckily, we've had a lot of good journalists devoted to this, and we're coming up with we're coming up with what we need to know. We're coming up with the truth. We're coming up with the real facts. We're coming up with the real data here. And it's very, very important that this is we're getting the truth on this, and I think that's good. It's coming to fruition. We're getting to the right path here, and that's something you can rest assured is happening, and it's worth feeling comfortable about that. We have these people, these journalists out here who are doing a good job and good work. All right, so yeah, there is that story today happening for you. So yeah, we move on now to our next big story, and it has to do with the DHS. The DHS also, they are lashing out. The Department of Homeland Security, that is what it stands for, the DHS. They're lashing out after airlines say they won't transport kids separated from their families. And so yeah, they're putting their foot down. They're saying no, not gonna happen. Yeah. And yes, they're saying no on separating transporting kids separated from their families. Two of the largest airlines in the country on Wednesday declared they want no part in transporting immigrant children separated from their families. So, United Airlines CEO asked federal officials not to transport immigration children on United aircraft who've been separated from their parents, calling the separation policy in deep conflict with their company's mission. So we want no part of it, they say. So like when United Airlines says your treatment of people is bad, like this is the guy who dragged the doctor kicking and screaming off the plane. So they don't have the best record for treatment of children. And yeah, it's those two people, these two American companies, these two American brands that Trump's like, oh, I love America. American brands are such the best thing in the world. Nah, they're not feeling you. I got some news for you. This has just been a wide condemnation of these people. And if you want to know, here's the next big person. Here's the brand. Here's the big brand that decided to who decided to cut their ties. It's American Airlines. They also said they had contracted federal officials and requested the federal government to immediately refrain from using American families for the purpose of transporting children who have been separated from their families due to the current immigration policy. They have no desire. They have no desire to be associated with separating families or worse, to profit from it. We have every expectation the government will comply with our request, and we thank them for doing so. So that's what they say. They're like, please stop. No, we're good. Frontier Airlines, I've never heard of them before, but they also issued a statement. Frontier Airlines, they're saying no. The Department of Homeland Security Press Secretary Tyler Holton responded to Frontier, American, and United Airlines pretty much taking a big fat dump all over the government here, and they're not a fan. Let's be honest. It's really no surprise. We'll get to this is their exact tweets. It's unfortunate that at American Air, United, and Fly Frontier no longer want to partner with the brave men and women of the DHS, to protect the traveling public, combat human trafficking, and to swiftly reunite unaccompanied illegal immigrant children with their families. Despite not being provided with facts on the issue, these airlines clearly do not understand our immigration laws and the long-standing devastating loopholes that have caused the crisis at our southern border. Yeah, the devastating loopholes are not devastating loopholes. They're policies taken by the Trump administration that are causing this whole crisis in the first place. It's unbelievable the twisted worldview these people have of this, and they figure that like that's okay. And I mean, what you've been doing is pretty much fine. But the thing is, what you've been doing, pretty much everyone here, everyone who's coming out and saying we're not putting these people on our airlines, they're fine with it. they couldn't care less about what whatever the government wants to do on the southern border. It really has they really have no qualms over the deportation of illegal immigrants. But now you're doing this. You're deciding to separate kids from their families. So it's a crisis completely of their own making. And that's the fact that's so sad. They're just like being little babies about it. And they just cannot, whatever they want to do, they cannot come to grips with it. It's impossible for them. They are physically incapable, it seems, of coming to grips with the fact that they have created this crisis. They're the people who are drawing all the condemnation, as they should be. And it's just not safe for them to be ruling anymore, because it's just so, the way how they're handling this, how they're handling our country is just at this point so disturbing. So they are lashing out now at airlines. So the airlines released their statements after a widely shared Facebook post that claims 16 children 16 children dressed as criminals were transported on a commercial flight from Arizona to Florida. The Arizona Republic looked at flight times, reported the American Airlines was the likely airline that transported the children. So here's the Victoria Cook on Friday shared that. My friend Annika Lodinsky is a flight attendant. She said this is the post that the person publicized. And the person publicized his posts. She said, my friend Annika Lodinsky, Victoria Cook talking here, is a flight attendant. Today, her co-worker posted the following about a red-eye flight from Arizona to Miami last night. She describes it. So through all the adversities we faced last evening with computer outages, cancellations, and delays, nothing prepared me or my crew for the 16 passengers, 16, all dressed in black and gray, cheap Walmart sweatsuits, quietly boarding the 12:30 a.m. flight. Children, 32 scared eyes looking straight forward, dazed. We tried to speak, yet none speak English. During the beverage service, one of the crew comes to me in tears. They can't face these children that have been ripped from their families with a smile. These children were probably ranging from 11 to the most adorable little girl, maybe 6 years old, at 2:30 in the morning, deplaned here in Miami, not knowing if they will ever see their loved ones again, that they were separated from in Phoenix. Those sweet, innocent children, dressed as criminals, silently deplaned with the same fear as our initial meeting, except for the little girl. She looked up at me as she turned left for the main cabin door with tears of fear streaming down her face. I'm not sure the protocol, but I leaned over, hoping to offer some hope, and she hugged me, which was returned, much to the scowl and comments from the adult escort. I pray that the 16 little scared souls, as well as the other thousands, find their way to reuniting their loved ones. We are trained yearly in hundreds of possible scenarios as attendants. Something like this isn't remotely one of those. I had only met one of my crew a few years earlier, the rest never. Thank God. I don't know, that sentence doesn't really make sense there. Thank God we had one another to lean on to not only get through the fight, but have a glimmer of hope for some of those babies. What have we become is the ending quote there. So yeah, that's someone who was on the flight. Someone whose friend is a flight attendant and her coworker posted that on Facebook. Yeah, so yeah, we have no substantive report at this time. But we'll be disappointed to learn that our airline was being used to separate families, Americans said, according to CBS News. So yeah, it is, and they're taking care of it. They're really taking care of it. Yeah, and apparently ICE is making some of these people who are being deported buy the plane tickets, sending them out of the country. So they're not paying for their own plane ticket for deportation. They're making them pay for it. Jesus, I mean. Yeah, you really cannot get any lower than that. All right, so, yeah. We have the intense disprivilege, if that's even a thing, to play this soundbite of Corey Lewandowski This is from Fox News yesterday, I believe.
I mean, look, I read today about a 10-year-old girl with Down syndrome who was taken from her mother and put in a cage. I read about did you say want to a 10-year-old with Down syndrome being taken from her mother?
What I said is you can pick anything you want up, but the bottom line is very clear.
How dare you?
When you
How
cross
absolutely
the border
dare you,
illegally,
sir?
you
How
have
dare
given
you?
up the
We have
rights of
infants
this
that are being
country.
taken from
Look,
their
we are
mothers.
a country
We
with
have
borders. We are a
infants that are
country
being
of laws.
stolen from their
And when
mothers
you
and put into
choose to
cages.
cross this country
And you
illegally,
go, want,
your parents
so
understand
is this just
they understand something
Nobody can
very
hear when you
clearly.
both talk. So
when you cross the border
How dare
illegally,
you, sir?
when
How
you commit
dare
a
you?
crime, you are taken away from
She
your
has
family.
Down
because that's
syndrome
how
and she
this
was
country
taken from her
works.
mother.
All right, Zach,
You go to
hold
any
on, Corey.
country in the
Let's
world.
get Zach.
Yeah, so that was that disgusting clown who somehow, after being fired from the Donald Trump administration during the summer part of his campaign, somehow still has a job. Somehow is still in the political sphere. That idiot, that fool, that animal who thinks it's like, some little girl in his house, like, who really cares? Come on. Like, are we really saying we're, like, motivated? Like, we care about this? Like, oh, no. It just makes me just cringe so hard inside. Like, how can you be a human and listen to what these people are saying? Some of the horrible things. They're coming across, they're smuggling. Some of the horrible things, sorry about that. That was a little bit of malfunction there. But some of the horrible things that are going on at the southern border, and not feel such incredible sympathy for these people, because it is, it's some really tough stuff to deal with. Anyway, yeah. So, good news. Now, the protesters are forcing ICE to shut down a Portland facility. The Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency announced on Wednesday that it had temporarily shut down one of its facilities in Portland, Oregon. The move was a victory for protesters who have spent 3 days rallying outside the building. The protest was organized by Occupy ICE PDX and Direct Action Alliance, which saw several hundred activists mass outside the office where they held up signs, lit candles, and blockaded the building garage, temporarily preventing ICE employees from leaving the site. They were just there. How great is that? Like that you can shut down temporarily anyway. A ICE facility, a government facility that is doing these awful things to these children, and it is quite incredible. It's really quite incredible. So, an ICE spokesperson confirmed ICE operations at this location have been temporarily halted due to security concerns. Normal operations will resume once security concerns have addressed. I mean, it shows you what the power of the people can do, and why it's so important to get out there and really own the streets. Own these streets. This upcoming just continue to protest. We're having a march on Washington. There's a march on Washington to protest the family separation policies, but I don't know about that since they're not doing those anymore. But this needs to be watched. This is an issue that really needs to be watched because this is some of this crazy stuff we cannot let them get away with. So a spokesperson also stressed that the agency fully respects the rights of all people to voice their opinion without interference, while remaining committed to immigration enforcement consistent with federal law and agency policy. On Tuesday afternoon, local ice cream vendor 50 Licks joined the demonstration, driving their food truck to the ICE office to provide free scoops to the protesters. Speaking with the Oregonian, 50 Licks owner Chad Drazen, I was pissed off yesterday and asked what I could do besides being mad. According to the outlet, protesters met the ice cream truck with ice cream good, ice bad. So here's a little clip.
Well, Chris, some of these protesters have been out here all day. It's hot, they're sweaty, but they say their message is too important to let the weather keep them inside. And they're hoping to educate the community on what's happening with many migrants, some whose families have been separated during the zero-tolerance immigration process. The owner of 50 Licks Ice Cream in Portland, well, he agrees with that message, and he showed that today by bringing protesters free ice cream cones.
I just want to support everybody out here. I don't have the time to be out here myself, but I have these resources I could bring the truck, so, stop by and support everybody that's sweating out in the sun and standing up for justice.
Back live this afternoon, federal police responded to this building for security concerns related to the protests. In a statement, ICE said in part that it fully respects the rights of